Alright, welcome everybody to a brand new episode of the Coastal Fitness Podcast. And I have one of my favorite guests, of course, Stephen Hightower by my side. Let me shake your hand. Let's do our handshake, the tree tap. 1, 2, 3, boom! This is our handshake. So, good to see you all. Today we have something special for you planned. So, as the holiday seasons are coming up, a lot of social gatherings are happening. And if you want to stick to your healthy nutrition habits, it can be very difficult. So what we want to do today is we want to share a couple of tips. How many tips in total?
12.
12 tips, guys, for the price of one.
12 tips for Christmas.
Yes, 12 tips. Oh, good.
Yeah,
that's
you
pretty
like
good.
that?
I like that. So we're gonna delve straight into the tips. Tip number 1.
On the first tip of Christmas, trust the podcast gave to you.
Yeah.
We're not gonna stick with it.
Yeah.
Okay. I tried one time though.
Yeah.
Okay. Tip number 1: budget your calories wisely. When you go to a feast or a party, instead of just eating everything that you see inside, maybe, especially if you're restricting yourself calorically, maybe just spend your calories on the foods you like the most. Whether that's macaroni, cheese, or steak, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Instead of eating everything, spend your calories on what you like the
Boom.
most. That's
Good tip.
number 1.
Awesome. Tip number 2. So, you know, everybody knows this feeling. So take some time before you go on with round 2. So what does that mean? Everybody knows this feeling. We start eating and we're still hungry after our meal. But before we go on to our next plate, let that food settle in. Wait 10 to 15 minutes before we go on to round 2.
Yeah, I find that if I give myself after a meal 10 minutes, I'm not really hungry.
Yeah, right.
I could always eat more, but
Yeah.
do I need to? No.
True.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks. Tip number 3: distance helps the heart stay healthy. Basically, if you're at a party, they've got a buffet. If you're within hands reach of the buffet counter, odds are you're gonna grab some chips, you're gonna grab a snack or anything like that. So create some distance between you and that table. Maybe even turn your back to it so it's not within your line of sight.
Yeah.
Another thing you can do is maybe pop in a mint or a piece of gum, and that'll keep you from maybe reaching for those chips or those candies because you got something in your mouth already. So that's tip number 3. Yeah.
Good tip. Awesome. So next thing, this is for everybody that is cooking at home for that beautiful feast at home. Don't go out on an empty tank. So when you're shopping for your Christmas meal or whatever festive meal that you're gonna prepare, try to eat before you go out. That's gonna avoid you buying stuff that you don't need.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
Easy.
Nice. Tip number 5: drink to your health. So just to give you guys a little of context, eggnog, if you go to a party and they have eggnog available, you're looking at about 500 calories per one glass. Yeah, lots of calories, lots of sugar, lots of fat. If you have wine, beer, mixed drinks, you're looking at anywhere between 150 to 250 calories per drink. Okay, so that can add up really, really quickly. So suggestions are maybe put a cap on yourself for how many drinks you're gonna have at this party. Maybe it's 2, maybe it's 3, enough to be social, but not too much. And maybe in between drinks you have like a soda water or seltzer water, which will kind of fill you up a little bit, but also I know how it is. Once you get to drinking, you kind of want to have something in your hand. You're sipping. Yeah. Maybe just put in a bubbly beverage in between to limit your intake. Yeah.
Perfect. Great. So this ties in with your tip. Tip number 6, I think, right? Yeah. Is no alcohol on an empty stomach. So if you want to avoid binging on food or just avoid that hangover, it's better to have a decent meal before you start drinking. So no alcohol on an empty stomach. That was tip number 6.
When you eat, when you drink on an empty stomach, what does it do to you regarding your appetite?
So I feel like it increases your appetite.
Yeah.
You feel like you want to eat a bit more, so it stimulates the appetite.
Yeah.
So in order to avoid that, it could help to have a meal before a drink, right?
Yeah. Also, I feel like drinking alcohol in general kind of all of my inhibitions kind of get muddied up. So yeah, like you said, if you've had a meal or if you have a meal ahead of time, then you're putting yourself in a better position to not make those bad decisions.
Absolutely.
Tip number, what were we on? Where were we at right now?
So I just did number 6.
So number seven. Put on your walking shoes. So, you know, this is supposed to be put on your dancing shoes. I don't know how many of you people like to dance, but put on your walking shoes. If you're at a feast, you're at a party, maybe you can talk your friends, your family into maybe doing a little walk around the block beforehand. Maybe a little walk after your meal, or maybe like a walk in between your dinner and your dessert. Either way, this kind of just gives you a gap in between, you know, your meal times, and also just gives you an opportunity to kind of reflect and think about, you know, your goals and what it is you're trying to accomplish, and hopefully, you know, just a little trip around the block might help you. Stay within what it is that you're trying to do.
Exactly. Absolutely. Great tip. So tip number 8. This is a great tip. So this has helped me a lot, especially if you're in a buffet or in that type of situation, is fill your plate with proteins and vegetables first. So what I like to do is when I'm in some kind of buffet, I take a little tour, I choose protein, vegetables, and I eat that first. Once I feel like I'm filled on that, then at the very end I start eating the carbs that I really want to eat. But this definitely helps me to avoid eating too many carbs that I don't want to eat.
Right.
Yeah.
Really good. My next tip kind of ties into that.
Yeah.
It's being buffet savvy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So basically, if you walk into like a potluck, or you walk into a buffet and there's all these different kinds of food, and you don't actually investigate and see what there is, what you'll tend to do is you'll have your plate and you'll be like, oh, I want some of that, oh, I want some of that. Next thing you know, you got this big, huge pile of stuff.
Yeah.
That happened to me last week. Instead, maybe take a trip around the buffet, have a look at what there is, and maybe make a mental list of like, oh, I really want to try that. I really want to try that. And it might be everything, but prioritize. What is it that you want to try the most? Be reasonable, maybe pick 4 or 5 items and stick with that. You know. Have that, give yourself 10 minutes, and then go in for a second serving if you feel that's necessary. But just to recap what I just said, oftentimes you go into a buffet, it's easy to pile on.
True.
So taking that quick trip, seeing what it is that you want to put on your plate first might keep you from overeating.
Absolutely. And if you start with your proteins and veggies, boom,
Beautiful.
you're even better. So good tip. Then tip number 10. This is actually for people. So let's say we're going out. You know, when you start going out, you start having drinks. That's when stuff goes south with regards to nutrition, especially.
Sure.
So it helps if you just have a meal before you go out. Just have a meal before you go out, and that will limit the damage that will occur.
This is into while we're shopping, right?
So this is actually when going out. So
okay.
Because I went to no problem. Yeah. So when going out, partying with friends, have that meal right before you go out, and you'll be better.
Cool.
11.
Number 11. Cook for the heart. Now, just a little caveat before I get into this. I don't necessarily think that saturated fats are a bad idea. They're needed for a healthy heart, but what you see where saturated fats can be an issue is when you incorporate a lot of carbohydrates, and that's really what you'll see, especially in holiday foods. You're going to have a lot of carbohydrate-dense foods, your macaroni and cheeses and your desserts and all that kind of stuff. So the more you can limit the saturated fats, then you're kind of putting yourself in not as bad of a position, right?
Could you give an example of saturated fats?
Saturated fats. So you're looking at lard, you're looking at vegetable oil, you're looking at like butters and creams. The more you can limit the use of those things, the better off you'll be at the end of the season, especially if you're cooking for yourself or you're cooking for others. Now, if you're going somewhere else, then you don't really have much option for that, but you do get the option of choosing foods that you feel are healthy. But that being said, try to incorporate into your cooking less cream, less butter, less lard, less shortening, and try to include more foods like turkey and fish, or eat those types of foods as much as you can when you're out and about, at parties and such.
Awesome, great. And then the last tip, this is actually what we should have started with is, and I feel like you have more to say about this, but because you work with a lot of people with regards to nutrition and stuff, you have a lot of clients, is finding a good balance. So festive season comes around, there's social gatherings that occur much more frequently. How do you set yourself up? Which mindset do you have when going into this? We spoke about this before we started this recording.
When we go into
like choosing between. So imagine, right? So people want to stick to their diet, but at the same time they want to be social. So they need to prioritize or realize something.
When I'm working with clients, one of the first questions that I'll ask them is, what is your priority? So putting it into context for this, you've got your training regimen and your health, and all of that is considered. Whether your health means like you're training for something specific, or you're body conscious, or you're just training for you. So you're eating for your health. But then you have the social aspect of the holidays. You're with family and you're with friends. You kind of look at the two and you ask yourself, like, which is more important to you? Which is more important? And if social gatherings is more important to you, then you prioritize that stuff, and then you just try to mitigate the damage as much as you can. Or if you're training and your goals are more important to you, then you uphold these as much as you can, and then you do the bare minimum to also be social if that's something that you also want to do. Like, what's the bare minimum that you can do? Understanding what your priority is can then help you lead into the next bit, right? So getting into that, like, what do you think, what would you like me to expand on?
So I think that was it. That was it. Finding that balance, finding that priority. But at the same time also realizing that the festive season, it's okay. We always look forward to those specific dishes that everybody has a certain preference to what they want to eat.
Mac and cheese, baby.
For me, it's turkey sandwiches.
Do you mean the turkey sandwiches with all the stuff afterwards? With the gravy and the...
It's so good, brother.
So good.
So, but it's eventually it's about family. So family time, right? And let's not forget about that. So it's not about binging and going hard on all these different types of foods. Of course, we only live once. We gotta live a little bit. We gotta have a little bit of taste, but don't forget what it's really about, and that's family and friendship.
Yeah, cool, right? Man. That's beautiful, man.
This is what...
Alright, we hope these tips helped you guys out.
12 tips. Be sure to like and subscribe, and see you on the next episode. Nice. Where can we find Mr. Hightower?
Well, you can find me at Hightower_coach. Where can we find you?
At Coach Saed.
Just a little bit of new, guys. We're going to be setting up a social media page. It's not up yet, but hopefully we'll have a way for you guys to communicate with us, and we can communicate to you on more of a daily basis. Just more on that coming soon. But until then,
exciting news coming.
Very exciting news coming. But with that being said, hope you guys have a happy holidays, and speak to you soon.
Peace. Good. Awesome. Loved it.
So